it was 10 years of living a lie that I didn't know was a lie because I'd only been taught that this was the truth. And when I finally figured out that was bullshit and it wasn't the truth, at least not for me, it was like being slapped across the face.
Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Erin, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom, because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world, but fed up with the BS.
I know, it's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy, it's comedy, it's definitely full-on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck.
Hey guys, it's Erin, and I'm here with my new friend, David Allison. And I met David a couple of months ago, and within about 30 seconds, I was like, I need to share his knowledge, his wisdom, his research with our audience. It's something we've never talked about before, and it sounds, as I would say, like fluffy unicorn doo-doo. It is not. If you are in a position where you need, in particular, to influence, some of that might be sales, it might be marketing, that could definitely be leadership, you have to listen to this, because we are talking about this research around values and how people's values so uniquely drive the decisions they make, and they're usually not the thing we think they are. David has a company, they have data from over 1 million people that looks at what matters most to people. And oftentimes it is the thing that is 3 layers deep that changes how they think, how they decide. You might be in a meeting and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm selling, we are connecting, she is smiling, the decision maker is bought in, and they're really not, because you are not hitting them in their core. And for me, we talk about this, mine is authenticity. It's not technically a value, but it is the same thing. If you are not authentic, you could say all the right things in the world and you ain't got me. And so here are some of the things we talk about. We talk about things like 3 questions you can ask to figure out what actually matters most to someone. So that could be an employee of yours, that could be somebody that you're looking to work with and sell to. We also talk about this thing called the 3rd why, and how to ask questions in a way that, let's put it this way, your colleagues, your competitors aren't going to do. He also tells this incredible story as an example of how we get it wrong, and talks about the values that are most important, the number one value that's most important for people that are working in a blue collar setting, and tells this incredible story about the pink van that you have to listen to. So we talk about that and so much more. This episode will have so many things click into place. Will have you asking the right questions. It will have you selling more. It will have you thinking differently about everything you do in the world of influence. So you're also going to hear about his new book that I'm super excited is coming out. It's his 3rd book. It's called The Values Map: Discover What Drives You and How to Move Others. And the difference with this book is that the last 2 books he's written have been very sort of corporate. This one is all about you. So can't wait for you to dive in and hear my conversation with David Allison.
What's the biggest misconception that you get when people, kind of call you the values guy, or talk that, you do research and talk about values?
I don't know if it's a misconception, but one of the biggest confusions that people have is just the word values, right? We're all used to sitting in boardrooms talking about mission, vision, values. And the CEO has just sent out the annual note, and they finally, after 3 years with a consultant, figured out what the corporate values are going to be. And it's the same as everybody else's corporate values on the wall up behind the receptionist. And, everybody's happy about it, and then they forget about it after 24 hours. We all run around talking about what we think our values are. And, oh, I value this, I value that. And then every night on the news, the politicians are telling us what our values are. The values of my constituents are this or that. So I actually don't really like using the word values so much anymore. Instead, what I find works better for everybody is we just talk about what matters most, because that's kind of the shorthand that gets to the kind of values that I'm researching, that I'm talking about, and that I'm focused on. What matters most to you? What matters most to your customers? What matters most to your employees? Works way better than saying, what are the values of your employees? What are the values of your customers? What are your values? So I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah. And the distinctiveness. Most feels like, at least let's start with one or two, right? Let's
Yeah.
not say, oh, what are the 5 or the 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's only 56. So we found this from speaking to 1 million people around the world and asking them,
Literally.
literally talking to 1 million people. And we can't ask people about what matters most to them or about their values, because they'll either on purpose or inadvertently lie to you. And say things about what they would like their values to be, or what they would like you to think their values are. So instead, you have to ask them about, what do they do? What do you do all day? How do you feel about this thing? What's this topic mean to you?
Yeah.
And when you listen to what people are actually doing and you start mapping their behaviors, that's where you can then back out and go, okay, they're behaving that way. It's because of what matters most to them. So clearly this is a thing that matters to them. So when you look at behaviors, you can deduct the values, the what matters most, that are driving all of those behaviors without all of that bias getting in the way.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm Canadian, so we'll talk about hockey because that's what we do up here. So,
And I got a hockey son too, so I can hang.
Yeah. So if you ask people, so you're a hockey fan? Absolutely. And tell me how many times a year do you go to a game? Do you go to games, or do you just watch them at home? Oh, you only watch them at home. If you watch them at home, who do you watch them with? Is your family in the room with you? Your friends are, and you do go to games. Do you take clients? Do you take friends? Do you just do you all get drunk? How drunk do you get? Do you have a jersey? Do you have 2 jerseys? If your team was kicked out of the running in the second game of the season, would you cheer for another team, or would you just stop watching? So you ask all these questions about a thing that they do, and then what they're telling you is this: they're just telling you all this great because it's something they're really excited and interested about. But if you listen, what you're hearing them say is, loyalty is important to me because I wouldn't cheer for a team. Family is less important to me than friends because this thing I'm excited about, my friends are all involved, but my family has nothing to do with this. So you can listen to somebody tell you about what they do, and from there you can go, I see what's going on here. So friends more than family, loyalty more than whatever else. And so that's how you figure out what people's real values are.
That's like you're a legit researcher, right? I mean, I did a research project, didn't know much, and just that next level of, you discern the things by not really asking the actual things. I love that. So we have, just to front load this, most of our listeners, they might be in sales. They might be just leaders who are influencing others. They might be business owners. Talk to us about the practicality of what you do so they can sort of be hooked into the rest of the stuff. Like, how do you help in situations where how do you sell and market more stuff? How do you become a better leader and get people to follow you? Like, what are those specific kind of use cases that our listeners can glean from your stuff?
Yeah. So first, let me just explain that I've got 2 lines of business, right? So we have the research company, and people come and hire us to just sort of figure out what are the values of whoever it is they're trying to engage or motivate. And then I'm also a speaker and write books about this stuff. So they feed each other, but they're different kinds of work. So I want to tell you a story about some of the data in a situation that came up from the research company. So the research company helped me prepare for a keynote, and this was for a room full of people who employ the blue collar trades. And big conference, and I think it was in Florida. And they wanted to know, how do we get more people to join the trades? They're having a talent shortage. And so we did our study with the research company and got up on stage, and I shared a few things. But one of the things I want to tell you about was we found out that they over-index people who are considering a career in the blue collar trades, over-index to the biggest margin I have ever seen or have seen since, against the general population, around a value called service to others. They want to know that they're in a helping profession. They want to do something that makes a difference in people's lives. So I get up on stage and I'm like, listen, you folks are hiring and trying to get these folks into the trades, you're saying all kinds of smart things. Is you're going to make more money. You get out of the shift work, the bar, the restaurant, the grocery store, wherever you are right now.
Not paying for college, big bills. Yeah, all the things.
All that stuff. But what you're not saying is this is your chance to be in a helping profession. And that's what they want to hear. That's one of their primary values, one of their primary motivators and drivers. So I tell the story. I get down off stage after my keynote. This guy comes over to me, as they always do. You know this. Somebody wants to come tell your story. I'm so glad this guy came to tell me this story on this day, because his story was that he has 7 offices in 7 cities across the southern United States. And in each one, there's a fleet of vans that goes out on service calls with his guys in them, because largely still guys in that world. And each one of those fleet of vans, there's one van painted pink, because all the money from the pink van every day goes to fund breast cancer research. Because his wife, and had a story. And I said, wow, there it is. There's the day. And he said, that's not this, David. The story is that, yes. But the real story is every day my guys fight over who gets to be in the pink van. Now imagine if we were marketers, or we were trying to motivate our teams, and we happen to be marketing to folks who are considering a career in the blue collar trades, or we happen to be trying to engage an employee group who has something to do with the blue collar trades. If that was the audience that you and I and everybody listening today, we were hired to figure out how do we get these folks to do the things we need them to do, would we have ever got to pink vans? Never in a million years. We'd be talking about all the stereotypes about backward baseball caps and, tailgate parties and football and country western music and chew and like all of that. But instead, it's pink vans. So pretty much every time we do a research project or I do a keynote, there's always a pink van. There's always something that makes you go, I could never, wow, we would never have, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you use that information to figure out how to market, how to engage, how to motivate, how to inspire, how to put policies in place, how to do your strategic planning. Like, if you know what matters most to people, all that stuff gets really easy all of a sudden.
Hey there, it's Erin. I'm just popping in real quick to ask you a question. Is there any chance you know someone who is looking for a keynote speaker for their upcoming event? Look, I know that many event organizers, they struggle to find a speaker who provides both tangible value and business knowledge, but that also lights their audience on fire. And I truly believe there aren't many speakers like me out there who are both former corporate executives and professionally trained speakers. And there's definitely none that roll in with an orange suitcase they unpack with their audience. Trust me on that. I would love nothing more than to bring my message of using authenticity as your strategic career and business advantage to people spinning in your universe, especially if you'd be there. I promise my talks always create an immediate buzz, but not just right after, but for months and years after the event is over. You can learn more about my message, style, and reviews, and share my speaking info by going to beauthenticinc.com/keynote-speaking. That's B, just the letter B, authenticinc.com/keynote-speaking. Or of course, we have it right in the show notes to make it easy for you too.
What about people that can't, I know you said you have the books and stuff that can't necessarily commission your company and do a deep study. What are the questions people need to ask, whether that's of their employees, of their B2B clients, that maybe they're not asking that would help get to this information?
Yeah, I have 3. We call them the 3 telltale questions. I'll give you these. And we've tested these around the world with everybody from consumer groups who go to shopping malls in the Middle East to Wall Street hedge fund managers. Everybody. If you ask people these 3 questions, and you can use your own words, you don't have to use these exact wording, but what you do have to do is you have to listen a lot to a lot of people answer these questions. And then you'll start to see patterns, and everyone's going to answer a little differently. So you got to look for the patterns in the responses, and you'll see those patterns, those signals in the noise. That's people's values. That's a value bubbling up to the surface. So So your job becomes ask this a lot, listen for the patterns in the noise, and they will be telling you what their values are. First question, why do you go to work? People will say, well, I got to pay my bills. So yeah, okay. Why else do you go to work? Well, it's my friends are there. I like my job. It's my creative outlet. I feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I feel like I'm in a helping profession. Back to our blue collar friends. That's people telling you why they make this decision to do this thing 8, 9, 10 hours a day, 7, 8, 9 days a week. And that was a joke. That was on purpose. You're supposed to.
It's actually so real that
So asking about a behavior helps you understand what people value. So that's question number one. Question number 2. Why would you give away half of your lottery winnings? That's a pretty big, monumental behavioral decision. Someone's going to always say, oh, well, I wouldn't. You go, okay, cool. So let's pretend you won a lottery where you have to give away half of your lottery winnings and get people to tell you why they would do that. And that why is a value talk. And then the last question, which is also a great one with your friends, couple glasses of Cab Sav, and then pop this one out. You get to say one thing to yourself from 10 years ago. Only one thing though. What's the message you would send back to yourself in the past? And you listen to what people say, and whether it's about their family, about friendships, about stress and anxiety in their life, about work, about kids, about money, about whatever, that's a value talking to you and telling you.
That's really good.
So
That's really good.
why do you go to work? Why would you give away
Yep.
half the lottery winnings? And what's the one message you would send to yourself in the past?
I love that. That's so good.
corporate America, a lot of our listeners are, sort of in the regular corporate America. Is there a value in particular that you think corporations, I know this is hard because every industry is different, that they're just sort of underestimating in general? That they just
No.
don't, even if they had to pick what they think the top 5 is, they wouldn't pick it, and it's up there?
I don't know how to answer that because it is very different from one another, right? But here's something that's common, not just across corporate America, but across humans, that I think corporate America tends to forget about quite frequently. Of the 56 values that could possibly be driving your workforce to be engaged and motivated and show up and actually give a damn about the work that they're doing, there are 5 that show up, at least one of them, maybe 2, sometimes 3 of them, in every industry, every consumer group, every profile we've ever done. At least 1, if not 2 or 3 of these 5 always show up. And we call this group of 5, this little cluster of 5, we call them the togetherness values, because they're all different ways that we like to be together. So it's the values of belonging, family, friendship, relationships, and community. So they all mean slightly different things. And I hear a lot of people who are in the space trying to help corporate America understand their workforce and recruitment and, stopping the churn and all of these sorts of things. And they talk about all of these things like they're interchangeable. They talk about like, oh, it's about our sense of belonging. We need to build the community and give people relationships. And it's like, no, those are 3 very different things. And you need to figure out which are the ones that are going to apply. So if you just look at it in total and just call it togetherness, somehow coming to work has to fulfill for people a sense of being together. It's why we all had such a hard time with COVID and working from home.
Yeah.
Because it was like, humans are not meant to be isolated and alone.
Yeah.
Meant to be with other people. And whether that means with our family, our friends, our relationships, our community, or just an overall sense of belonging, at least one of those things is going to apply in every single case. So for corporate America listening, hi, corporate America, you should sit back and ask yourself, from all the internal studies and surveys you've already done, all the conversations in the hallway, everything that you can kind of sense about what's driving your workforce, which of those 5 do you think it is? And then find a way to be more of that. Find a way to lean into that. Because here's the secret to everything, really, right? What matters most to us drives everything we do. So if you're trying to find a way to get people to be more engaged or to stop quitting or to show up and not just phone it in or whatever the issue is you're trying to cope with right now. You got to give them more of what matters most. You got to show them how what you need them to do and what this organization's about and what this work setting is all about and how it aligns with what matters most to them. I'm rambling, but here's an interesting thing that I see all the time too. Corporations spend $2 million in 2 years figuring out what their values are. And then they wonder why their employees aren't being that.
Yeah.
And so the big mistake here is that your corporate values are not the human values, people who are showing up at your corporation. So you've only done half the job. If you and the CEO and the board of directors have all got happy with the 5 words that you say are going to be your values, I can tell you what they're going to be because they're the same for pretty much every corporation. You know, sense of teamwork, be a good steward of the company's resources, don't do any harm, play nice with others, like all of these things. Cool. But the other half of the job is to show the people who work there how doing that stuff is going to give them more of what matters to them. You got to connect those dots.
Yeah.
And that's like the last piece of the puzzle, right? Let's say one of your corporate values is creativity. It's the one that lots of corporations, oh, we have creative solution that's one of our things that makes us who we are. We're creative people. Great. And let's say your workforce, one of their primary values that comes to the surface is personal growth. So you have to explain to them how being creative at work is going to help them grow as a person.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, if you don't connect those dots, they're going to just look at that list of words and go, yeah, creativity, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Make creativity matter to them by saying, hey, we believe in creativity here. We're going to do all these great things to help you be more creative because we know it's going to help you grow as a person.
Yeah.
Going to make your life better. You're going to achieve the things you need to achieve because you come to work and you behave in a creative way. Corporate values are better called something other than values. You know, it's like a list of ways we want you to behave at work. Guiding principles, I hear them referred to.
Yeah. And you kind of hit a hotspot for me, as the authenticity queen or whatever you want to call. I think it's also that authentic specification. Like I was just speaking with a group a couple of weeks ago and I gave them some examples. Like, don't say you're a family first organization. Say something like, you know, we believe in family first, which means we're not expecting you to answer an email from the soccer field. You know, give those specific, we're expecting our leaders will have an idea on a weekend and schedule it to go out on Monday. Like both specificity and how you put it into action, but also, I mean, the more authentic you can talk about and give examples, like, we believe in OSHA adherence. Okay, that's great. What does that mean? Well, we want you to be able to go home and grill burgers and dogs with your family tonight and not be in the hospital. So just to add on that twist, it's like, it's not even just the connection. It's about how you talk about it. And it's funny, I just had a quote unquote interview for a keynote a couple hours ago, and their company's kind of mantra is grit and gratitude. And what I loved about that one, it's alliteration. Who doesn't love a good alliteration? And it's a little bit of a juxtaposition. Right? You've got the grit and you've got the gratitude, but it's just 2 things. And I think that's part of the challenge too. Some of these companies, it's like more is not better. Like sometimes you're just better to say like 1 or 2 things and go deep on that. And that doesn't mean you don't care about other things, but
under the umbrella of grit and gratitude, there are so many things.
Sure.
So that's great. I quite like that. And one of the reasons I'm attracted to that is because it's not the same as every other corporation out there who has the same 5 or 6 things that they say are their values. So that's good. Whoever they are, whoever, if you're listening, those are good words.
Actually, you know what I was thinking this time too? I'm hopefully going to land this keynote and then I'm going to recommend you to go there next year because it's a blue collar-ish type.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, grit and
You
gratitude.
heard it here first, people. This is how speakers work. We team up. We team up where
We're coming at you together.
it's like the game of Survivor. Sometimes we have some alliances, and it's all for good. It's not bad. I'm curious, what's the best implementation you've ever seen a company, or maybe it's not the best, but one that really stands out where they took your information and they changed something in such a way that was really profound and impactful?
So many examples, and some of them are super complex. So I'm just going to tell you a simple one. We worked with a not-for-profit hospital foundation. So their job up here in Canada, I don't know if it's the same in the States, but we have publicly funded healthcare. But if your hospital,
we definitely don't have that, as you know.
Don't have that, yeah. But hospital foundations go out and do fundraising to try and get the extra stuff that they
Sure.
want that is funded through the government purse, right? So if
Sure.
you want the fanciest new MRI machine or something, you got to go find that cash on your own. So
Yep.
they all have a foundation attached to them where they're out doing classic fundraising stuff. So this one hospital foundation came to us and said, listen, we want to figure out how do we get our high net worth, large gift donors. We need more of them and we want them to give us more. So they have a whole program for the small donors who give, $40 at Christmas. That's cool. But this is about getting landing the big whales. So we did a profile of people who live in that community, which is fairly large geography, who had given to health related causes on other occasions, but had never given to this organization before, and found out what they all had in common. And this fascinating story came to the forefront. These largely female potential donors were, many of them, recently widowed and had found themselves for the first times in their life able to make the financial decisions themselves. They got to be the decider. And our research was able to back up what that meant to them and what values that was activating for them. So the organization had set a very aggressive fundraising target. They changed their messaging and they changed their strategy to lean into those particular things. One of them, for example, was the value of independence. These were women of means who wanted to exercise this newly found ability to decide the big stuff in their life. And so instead of going to them and saying, here's where your money will go, we're going to buy this fancy new equipment or whatever it was they were saying, I'm making that part up. They said, listen, your money could do a bunch of different things to help us. Which one would you like to see your funds go towards? And sat down with each person and had a conversation about what were their biggest interests. And do you want childhood cancer? Do you want us to use it for this or that or whatever? By giving them agency, they tripled their fundraising target.
Wow.
And it was because they could figure out what did this new behavior that they were capable of, what did it mean to them? How do we talk to them about it? And not just, how did they were able to frame up the strategy and the messaging and the marketing in a way that activated what mattered most to those people.
Yeah.
And those people were like, this is an obvious choice. This is an easy yes now. This is what matters to me and you're helping me with that. So yes. So the answer is yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good example.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think back to when we first met, I had just gone through my own sort of misalignment of values. I think I had shared with you our financial advisor had switched banks and we decided not to follow them. It would have been the second time. And so we were put with a new Morgan Stanley financial advisor, but there was, we obviously have looked at other options, and it was amazing how many of them just, and obviously one of my values, and I know I don't think you categorize it as a value, authenticity, but I'm making it the 57th because it's everything I breathe and eat and believe in. But for me, that meant, other values probably, that I could connect with these people, could have real conversations, not a bunch of BS. I think blah, blah, blah. And it was amazing. None of the profiles, even the discussion we had with this one gentleman, we are in a conversation now with another woman who I've known from a board I sit on and stuff. But the reason I'm considering moving to her probably the next year would be because it aligns with my values. And so
you just know it, right?
You just know it. You just know it. And it's frustrating that, you want to be like, hey, let me give you a hint.
Yeah.
Like if you asked me what's most important to me, I would have laid on a silver platter.
Yeah. For
how
sure.
to sell me if you have it in you, right? Like some of these people they probably still couldn't have quite done it. But
the other thing that's interesting about those kinds of situations, I love where this conversation is going. We're taking it down to how it impacts us as individuals now and as in our personal lives. When you find a thing or a person or a situation or a product that aligns with what matters most to you, what you'll notice is the absence of things. You notice that you're not second guessing. You notice that you're not lying awake at night running the pro and con list through your head. You notice that time stands still. What happens is you're not fighting with yourself. You're not wondering whether you did the right thing. You're not trying to make the work with the relationship. No, it just works.
Yep.
It just works because you see you
It like
want better-
clicks into place like a Lego or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you know it's the right answer. If it's anything that's making you go, oh, I don't know. I mean, one fun way to think about it is parties. You know, at Christmas time, we all get the list of parties that we have to go to or want to go to or get invited to or whatever. You show up at some of them and you walk in and you're just like, no. And you turn to your partner and go, let's tell them the babysitter died and get out of here. And you just like politely say that, and then you've got an excuse you have to go. And then there's the other ones you walk into and you're just like, I want to be here all night. This is amazing. That's the party that aligns with your values. That's the one that aligns with what matters most to you. It's something you can't tell. It's like, well, it's because of where the bar is or who I saw when I first, or the music or the lighting, or some combination of all that stuff is aligned with what matters to you. And so you just don't want it to end. You're having the time of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where, our stuff dovetails so much, I always say people are looking, they're craving something to connect into, whether it's somebody that's going to sell to them or a company they're considering. And so often, and putting those wallpaper corporate values ain't it, right? Without the specificity, without the examples, without the authenticity. And so, yeah, I mean, what you can find is like the specific areas, and my like preach, get on the couch, stand up, is you got to give them the Lego. What do they call those things? The round things? They're called something. I don't know. The Lego, the bricks, and I don't know. You got to give them something to plug into.
Yeah.
Whether it's your LinkedIn profile as a sales executive or a leader, or it's your company website, or it's the way you send your email, like give them something so that they can determine if it aligns with your value. And guess what? It's better for them to say, no, it doesn't align, than them go, I don't know, because it's all vanilla. And
A minute ago, you said authenticity is going to be the 57th value. I'm going to reframe that for you, because I think where your work and my work intersect is that feeling you get of authenticity, that ability to, you just know that this is how it's meant to be for you. That's because all the right values are in play.
Yeah.
So authenticity is, I'm going to say, not a value, it's the end result of values alignment. It's what the goal is. If you're living authentically, that means you're living according to what matters most to you. So I think we're actually talking about the same thing. You're doing
I think it's like the bookend, because I don't think it's just the result. I don't think you can get to the values without, like my definition, exposing who you are when people least expect it in the service of others, like using those stories and those uncommon words and that specificity and the sassiness, or just not the buzzwords and stuff, can first of all pull up the covers and say, here are the values, truly, not the words, but like you can feel it. And then I would say the more traditional definition of authenticity is also the sort of the bookend feeling you get. So I think basically I hold you all together.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like the umbrella layer.
Yeah.
I'm down in the weeds, but I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Very complimentary.
Hey guys, Erin here. Stop. Do not do it. Don't fast forward. I have something too important. I have a couple of very passive aggressive questions to ask you that you don't want to miss. Here they are. 1, do you find yourself often comparing yourself to others? Like, they work harder than me, they get noticed more than me, they have better luck than me, they're smarter than me? Or do you also just feel exhausted from having to always work as hard, if not harder, than everybody else to stand out and succeed? I know you have these challenges. We all do. And this is why I wrote the 50% rule. And I know you need to read another book like you need a hole in the head. But I'm telling you, this book and this rule, I'm obsessed with it. And it has changed my life. It has changed the lives of others around us. And it has also been the formula for success behind so many successful people. Savannah Bananas, Hamilton, Weird Al Yankovic. The 50% rule is the simplest shortcut to stop comparing, stop copying, stop chasing other people,
and like literally compete in your league of your own. There isn't a day that doesn't go by where I stop myself and I'm like, oh, she did a talk that I wish I could do. She's got more. No, it doesn't matter because we don't compete in the same league. I compete in a league of my own because I am constantly 50% ruling things. So if you're interested in this concept, which by the way is more fun as a team sport, but at least start with yourself. You cannot miss this book. It's not only powerful, it's really freaking fun to read. That is always my number one goal. It was my number one goal with my first book. It's my number one goal with the 50% rule. I want to make it enjoyable to read it. Why? So that you read it. So if you feel like you are stuck with these comparison cramps or just all the symptoms that I talk about in the book of sleep running syndrome, self-doubt gout, and pioneer paralysis, and well, you have to read the book to find out more, then just go buy the darn book. Easiest way, go to Amazon, search the 50% rule, and I cannot wait to hear how you 50% rule things.
What about one of my other questions? And I think I know the answer. I think it's like what matters most to you, which I have actually, I hate, like, I don't like to take over in these interviews because I want to hear from you, but I just have a quick story. When I was put into interim CEO position, I had to renegotiate our largest contract. They wanted more money. It would have sank our financials even further. So it was high stakes. And I remember, I'm not a good planner, and I remember having a call with the executive, the first kickoff one, and shit, Erin, you of course you didn't freaking prepare. You don't like know the blueprint of like the strategy of how you're going to go in and right. And so I remember I just got on this call. We were supposed to meet in person, but I think he was sick. And I got on this call and I asked him very, very early on if it wasn't obviously we did intros. And I said, what matters most to you in this negotiation? It's exactly what I asked him. And you know what he did? Because he wasn't expecting it, first of all, he told me the truth, right? He had no time to prepare and strategize. And he puked up, hey, we're going to go IPO in the next year or two. Having long-term contracts will be really important so they don't think that we're going to lose clients. So immediately I knew it wasn't necessarily just price. It was like, can you sign a long-term contract? And by the way, it was a vendor that switching costs were really high. Like we didn't want to switch. Like it was a lot of like technology and integration if we moved to another one. So I was like, shit, yeah, I'll take a 10-year contract. Like that's totally fine with me. And so I was going to ask that question. Maybe there's other, like if you're a sale, because sales, right? They're going into these meetings, these B2B meetings. They're obviously not going to ask things like, why do you go to work? Right? Like some of these more fluffy. Is it what matters most to you, or what else can they ask or do to like make sure that they go into that sales meeting and hit their values?
Well, there's a couple of different things. One of them is, just ask what matters most to you about this situation. What matters most to you about this outcome? What matters most is a great phrase you can use in all kinds of different settings. The other thing you can do is just watch for some other cues. So let's try this.
Okay.
There's a little photo behind you there on your bookcase. It's like a brown, that one. What's that a picture of?
That's my family, my husband and my 2 children.
Where are you?
We are at a photo shoot about 30 minutes from here. It's one of those fancy ones. It's one of those inauthentic. We don't really usually look that cute and loving from many years ago.
I see your books, but I also see some other people's books. So what's the last book that you added to the collection that I can see up there?
That you can see, because I just have one coming today from a good friend. Last one I added up here. Probably the last one I added that I read was
Fans First by Jesse Cole from the Savannah Bananas.
Oh yeah, they're great, aren't they? Are you a baseball fan in general?
No, I'm a big sports fan though. I'm a big sports fan. Baseball is probably lower on my love though.
Where did the sports fandom come from? That's not something, I don't know. You don't hit me as sporty
My
spice.
grandmother. So my grandmother, God rest her soul, she passed away when she was 62. So I was 11, but I grew up with her sitting in her living room. You can picture the like velvet walls, green, and she was on kidney dialysis for her last 9 years after my grandfather passed away in his 50s. She had kidney failure and did dialysis in her house. So picture this. My grandmother, she was 4'11". She would sit in her green leather chair next to her dialysis machine that obviously would go on when it needed to, smoking a cigarette with a scanner next to her which is, you know, like a police scanner. It tells you what's going on. Now, I should tell you, the town was about 800 people in it. So, not a lot going on in the police scanner. And she would always have on sports. And she would not just watch sports, she would participate. I always said she would yell at that TV. She was super spicy. She would tell them what she thought. She hated Notre Dame. So I still hate Notre Dame to this day, only just as an ode to her. And back then, a woman of her generation to love sports like that was very unusual. So I think I got it from her. I think I also,
She sounds like
I'm such an easy client, aren't I? I just puke it all up.
She sounds like a character in a Stephen King novel or
Oh,
something.
she was
Like-
Pauline. She was piss and vinegar. But the other reason I still to this day, if I 9 times out of 10 have to pick something to watch, I'll pick a sport, basketball, football, tennis. It's the authenticity of it. I love that I put it on and nobody knows what's going to happen. It's not reality TV that they might have scripted. It's not, a movie that's full scripted. I love the fact that it is as authentic as hell. You don't know where it's going to go. I love the energy of it. I love the lack of commitment to it. You know, you can come and go. So that's why I love sports.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that based on this incredibly accurate and in-depth profiling exercise we've just been through, which the reason I've done this is because you asked about a sales situation, right?
Yeah.
Generally start with some small talk.
Right.
You can ask some questions about what you see behind people, or, you know, maybe they're wearing a pair of crazy glasses and you can say, hey, do you have all kinds of crazy, like just whatever you can do to get people love to tell you a few little stories, breaks the ice and whatever. Very common way for a sales interaction to begin. But based on what you've told me and what I can see and how you decided to tell those stories, I can tell that family is very important to you. You've got lots of pictures you got that one picture of your family, but also the one over your head. I can see has something to do with your kids.
Yep. Michigan kid. Yep.
Yeah. Creativity. You write books. You're a speaker. So that was a giveaway. That was an easy one for you. Listening to the way you talk about some things, I'm getting a little sense of tradition. You know, I do this thing because my grandmother did it, and because of her. So that like there's some sense of a traditional lineage and enjoying the idea that you're bringing things forward into the present, the past.
Yep.
I'm going to guess based on that you have some Christmas rules. There's some ways that Christmas go down in your family. There's a certain dish on maybe a certain set of a certain platter. There's a certain timing for the event in the course of the evening. There's some traditions around Christmas that have come down through.
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe.
Little bit.
Experiences are a big deal to you.
Yeah.
Listening to the way you describe sitting in your grandmother's living room, that was an experience that you will never forget. And you talk about watching sports now, and part of what you love is nobody knows what's going to happen. There's like some mystery and intrigue there. That's experiences coming to the fore. And then you said one quick thing at the very end there that gave me a quick little clue. You said, I like being able to ditch the room when I don't want to be there anymore. That's me. And that's independence roaring to the fore. This TV is not going to tell me.
It's not going to tell me what I'm going to do for the next 2 hours.
I'm going to go and get a snack whenever I feel like getting
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yeah. No, that's super good. And what I think is so important about what you just demonstrated, and I think you kind of said this, but the traditional is to ask, oh, are those your kids? Oh, are you from Michigan? I see the book. But people don't take it a step further. And they don't ask that next question and that next question. And obviously you don't want to overdo it because then you sound like a freaking creep, right? But I think what you do so well and what you have to do to get to those values is you have to truly have that curiosity and ask that follow. And you can't know what that question is going to be going in. You might know that that they've got a picture on their desk and you're asked that, but from there you got to just be genuinely curious.
Yeah. So back to what matters most to you, right? So my new book coming out in January, little plug there. There's a bunch of chapters in there that give you tools you can use in these kinds of situations. And one of the chapters is called The Third Why. And that's what you're talking about. One thing to say, oh, you got a picture of your family there. Cool. Why did you choose to go get that done at a traditional photo studio?
Right.
Really? And then you're going to tell me that answer and I'm going to go, oh yeah. And then, well, why did you make that? Why is that important to you? And 3 whys down is usually when people are getting to the point where they're telling you about a value.
So good.
off the top, it's surface level. In the middle, they're starting to clue into what you're trying to do here. And you get to the third why, and they're finally telling you what's really driving them
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
that.
They're rolling. I love it. It's so good. I think there's so many things that people can glean from this. I want to ask you just our final two questions we ask everybody. The first one is we like people to share their buck that story. The buck that just means a time where you bucked the norm. Sort of play on fuck that. If you didn't get
Okay,
that.
got it. Now
Right? Yeah,
this is
buck that. Buck that. And you said, screw it. I'm not doing the normal path. I'm not doing what everybody told me. And it turned out pretty good.
Huh. Interesting. Good question. Quitting working for the big company and going out on my own. Wow, was that scary? You went through the same thing. That first day where you're like, okay, I'm in my home office. I spent a week just like making sure I like where the pencils are and
Figure out how to buy a computer and
now I actually have to do a thing.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, there's no more stalling. I can't like rearrange the lighting anymore. Like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do now. That was really, really scary. But as discussed, I have this independence streak a mile wide.
Yeah.
I can't handle anything. Did I tell you about my calendar? I
No,
started talking about that at the beginning. No, didn't I? Okay. So
I don't remember.
I was talking to my coach about this. I was like, I just don't think I don't understand. I'm not getting anything done. And like, I have so many deadlines. There's so much. I'm due book coming out and I got to redo my website. I just like, nothing's happening. And he's like, okay, you blocked it out in your calendar. I said, yeah, I blocked it out in my calendar. So why aren't you doing the things in your calendar? Just because I don't want to.
Because I told myself to do it and myself can't tell me what to do.
My calendar is bossing me around. And I'm just like, fuck you, calendar. I'm not going to
Yeah. I think we did talk about that.
email time. I'm not going to do emails. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was
I hear
the
ya.
thought that was driving me to I couldn't have a boss. And to this day, I'm supposed to say that I enjoy constructive criticism, but I don't because I'm like, no, don't.
I just want to keep humming.
I just want to do my thing. Yeah.
I'm curious, was there a piece of advice along your journey that somebody gave you in a pretty strong way, like absolute, not necessarily critical to you, but like you have to do this or you got to do more of this that you at first thought, yeah, and then you were like, wait a minute. No, I don't. I'm going to do it a different way.
Oh, the inverse. I thought you were going to say what's
No, it's just, this is my second why.
Yeah. Okay.
This is my digging it deeper.
Yeah. Something that I said yes to initially and then said no.
Yeah, a piece of advice that's very traditional, like you're supposed to do it this way, as a researcher, as a keynote speaker.
Keep your job. Like, why would you want to work for yourself and be reliant on your own ability to earn a living when you could have a steady paycheck every 2 weeks? And just did that for a long time. And I grew up at a time where today it's very different today. I have a whole bunch of young friends and they're all like driven to, I think social media has a lot to do with this. There's so many different things that they could be chasing with their life and their career. When I was at school, the only path to success was to become the CEO of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
That was the goal. It was like,
or a consultant to the CEO of Coca-Cola. Like there were like two business models I feel like we knew about, right? Yeah.
So the whole world was telling me I was supposed to be chasing my way, running as fast as I could up the corporate ladder, and that I should learn to love wearing suits and ties and playing the politics and, running a board. And somewhere along the point there, I just was like, yeah, no, that's not for me. It's not working. I actually had a breakdown. I don't think I've ever admitted this on a podcast before. Hey, everybody.
See, second why, we're already there.
I was working for a big company, and one day I was just standing in the big, giant elevator lobby, waiting to go up, and I couldn't get on the elevator. I just couldn't do it. It felt like there was a physical barrier in front of me. I could not get on that elevator and go up and start facing all the bullshit that was waiting for me up there.
Wow.
And so I turned around and went home. And called in and said, I don't think I'm coming back. And so that just, imagine, spiraled into a whole bunch of things. And my mother calling me hysterically and like all of this stuff. But it took me almost a year to get over that and to start doing the things that I know I needed to do on my own. It was 10 years of living a lie that I didn't know was a lie, because I'd only been taught that this was the truth. And when I finally figured out that was bullshit and it wasn't the truth, least not for me, it was like being slapped across the face. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. And in fact, I do have I mentioned this, I have a lot of young friends, mostly people I've met at the gym. My age group doesn't tend to hang out at the gym very much anymore. So most of my friends are young friends from the gym. And I feel like it's my biggest responsibility in those mentor-mentee relationships is to make sure that they realize that what they are being told is the path to success is
Yeah.
only true if it's their path to success and not what the internet tells them and not what Instagram tells them and not what their parents told them. That find your own path to success, figure out what matters most to you, what your values are, and craft that version of life and run in that direction. Because
Freaking
boy, I wish I could
hallelujah.
get that money back. I wish I could get that time and that money back.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't be able to gift this forward because you wouldn't have had that lesson. So that's why
That's why it
that's why
happened.
that's why it happened. Before I ask the last question, which is a softball question, much easier than the book, that question, where can people follow you? You have the book coming out. Can they pre-order it? Give us all that.
Yep. The book is called The Values Map. And the subtitle is written for me by Wiley, so I can never remember it. Wiley is my publisher.
I have it. It's called Discover What Drives You and How to Move Others.
I got the second part right. So the values. So the book is going to show you some exercises you can do to figure out what matters most to you. It tells you a bunch of stories about cool things going on in the world where people are actually chasing their own values, and then gives you some tools you can use to live that values-driven life and help the people around you get there too. So it's a pretty cool book. First time we've ever done anything like this. All the previous books have been about how to figure out values for marketing or employee engagement or all those sorts of things. So you can find that on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, all the places that you like to buy your book. Yes, it's available for pre-order.
For pre-order, awesome.
January. And yeah, other than that, you can find me at davidallisoninc.com, which is my speaking site. If you're interested in the research company, it's called the Valuegraphics Research Company, and that's at valuegraphics.com. And then, yeah, I hang out on Instagram and LinkedIn, so find me there.
Awesome. All right, last softball question. What's your one last piece of advice to make work suck less?
You know what I'm going to say? Find the way to make your work more about what matters to you. Volunteer for that job, do that extra assignment, try and avoid the stuff that doesn't align with what matters to you. Even if you're in this series of constraints where you don't have a whole lot of flexibility, everybody has some ability to maneuver and choose and decide what they're going to lean into and what they're not. Make it about what matters most to you and you'll be happy or happier.
Love it. Thank you, my friend. This has been great.
It has been great.
We appreciate your time so much.
Likewise.
Hey, it's Erin with a teeny request. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast and you'd like us to stick around, plus you want it to continue to grow so we can kind of swindle bigger and more knowledgeable guests to join us and to keep providing you with tangible and inspiring actions you can take to achieve the career and life you deserve, could you please just take 1 minute to leave us a rating and a review? Those reviews go a long way in attracting guests to the show, and candidly, they really make Nicole and I's day. We see you. We really do. So when you have the time and inspiration, we'd love to see a rating and review from you. Thank you.